Thank you very much. Bob Schumacher, sitting beside me, is Vice President of GFK UX Research, and it's my pleasure to welcome you on the UX conference or digital innovation in 2016 in Prague. It's my pleasure to have you here, and we take this unique opportunity to pass few questions which arise from your presentation, and we spot it in the lobby as well. The people asking these questions, so I make a short recap, and I want to ask you a few questions for listeners.
Sure.
First question is, Bob, how does user experience influence the relationship to the brand? That was the main topic of your presentation.
Yeah. So how does the user experience influence the relationship to the brand? I think really for me the user experience is essential to the brand. It's essential to the brand for the very fact that if I'm a brand manager and I have to create something for the market, my product, in this case the user experience that I have, is the delivery on that brand promise. Yeah. What we're finding more and more when we look at consumer trends and we look at how people work in the market, they're not out to buy products. They're out to buy experiences.
Yeah.
And because they're buying experiences, if you have a poor experience, it reflects negatively on the brand.
Yeah.
And if you have a positive experience, it lifts the brand, it builds the brand. So in essence, there is a very tight relationship there. The problem has been that there hasn't been a lot of attention, but there's no easy and straightforward way to measure that relationship.
It comes to my next question. Could you measure UX impact, and how to do this? Because it seems to be
right.
Complex.
There are a lot of brand measures. NPS scores. There's brand equity scores. There's customer satisfaction scores. But what we're finding is that brand marketers don't really understand user experience enough to generate that measurement, that metric that ties the brand measures together with the user experience measures. Yeah. So we've developed a metric that allows us to measure user experiences, and it correlates very strongly with brand experiences. So you can see as the user experience rises, so does the brand equity rise.
I see.
So if we neglect the user experience, we in effect neglect the brand.
Yeah. You just put a direct link between these two parameters.
The data that we have shows that there's a very strong positive relationship between increasing the user experience and increasing the brand experience.
I could imagine once I measure something, I have some arguments or data, and I could argue through the data.
Yes.
So what the next?
Yeah. So now what you do is you figure out where the weaknesses are in your metrics, or you look at the weaknesses in your experience, based upon the scores that you get. Yeah. You fix the product where it's weak, then you remeasure and you look at the increase in the brand scores relative to the UX scores. So if you do this on a consistent basis, you'll be able to see how the brand tracks together with the user experience tracking.
So that's important. Probably that's clear that you have overview over the certain time limit, and you could see how it goes in time. So
and the other thing that's interesting is that if you look at different user groups, right? So you can measure the user experience in various user groups. You can look at the user experience of different products.
I see.
And so you can compare not only the brand relationship, but the user experience across different product sets or across different user groups, and find out either what you need to do in terms of marketing or education or changes relative to the competing product.
Yeah.
Just by comparing the scores that one would get.
Next question, Bob, is how situation is evolving about UX recognition. I mean, about in C-level.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because when we look back historically over the last, say, 10 years or 15 years, there wasn't as much recognition of user experience, or it wasn't. It was deemed as just something that you put into, or that you added on at the end.
Okay.
You just had to make it usable. Now the situation has, I believe, has really begun to change, because consumers have the possibility of disposing of applications very quickly if they don't work, if they don't work for them in the right situation, the right time. So I think we'll find that bigger companies will make that investment, because it really needs to be, they really are going to get competition from startups who are smarter about user experience, and it will we've already begun to see that revolution happening.
Yeah. Sometimes we could hear argumentation from the C-level people that it costs additional expenses.
Yeah.
It costs some more money to adding to the product development,
Yeah.
and it's not sometimes it's not clear if it's worth to do this.
I think there's really two ways to respond to that. First is, it does seem to cost money, but it also costs money to recode. It costs money to do things twice, right?
Yeah.
So getting the user involved early in the process and doing the design right the first time reduces the cost in the long run. I think the other answer may be a little flippant, but the other answer is, if you think it costs money to do research, try not doing research and see how much that costs, because you may not have a business if you're not paying attention to the customers, if you're not listening to the customers, caring for the customer needs, and delivering on that value that you've promised in the product itself.
I think that you may find lots of examples of this.
Yeah, there's. It's easy to find successful examples. It's harder to find examples where things failed because people have failed to put together the good user experience.
Yeah, they're usually
ashamed
to share.
That's right. It's either ashamed to share it, or they no longer exist. Right.
Okay. What directions, from your point of view, will UX develop further in the next few years in the future?
Well, let me clarify on this one. Are you looking for the research directions, or are you looking for the field itself?
I mean adoption, the field itself.
Okay.
How the UX user experience approach will stand regarding the let's say product development and product exception.
I think what we're seeing now is we've begun to see a mushroom cloud almost of the kinds of requirements that people are bringing to user experience. More and more companies are seeing the need to do it, to put user experience as part of their process, because they realize, to be competitive, they look around and see that their competitors are doing things better, and so they have to measure against them. They're getting new requirements from user groups, expanding product lines. All of those times are places where user experience has to be in the flow of the product development cycle, and consequently, I think from the user experience point of view, we have to adapt and continue to be mindful of the pace that the businesses are working. So being able to be involved in agile processes, understanding the evolution of different kinds of interaction, and being on top of, what's the user experience required in Internet of Things, or in virtual reality, or augmented reality. So it's important for user experience people to be technically minded, but also grounded in the skills, knowledge, and capabilities of the user, so that we are better able to put the technology closer to the user's capabilities. And that's what really helps us to be successful.
And everything goes smooth, so the user experience become invisible within the process.
It should be. Yeah. If we're doing our job right, you shouldn't notice that you're having to learn. You should be engaged. It's, I think one of the big differences that we've seen over the last few years, and the differences from 10, 15 years ago, is that we've really added that emotional component is that we want to be engaged with the things that we use.
Yeah.
And so the more we can give people not only rational, so our left brain stuff, but also the emotional and the right brain interaction. We bring those things together and we have a much more powerful example of things in this world that we like and can be engaged in.
Yeah.
So.
But nothing is for free. You have to.
Nothing is for free.
You have to.
That's right.
Care about
Well,
the
it's
UX process.
You're going to make investments. You have to make investments in marketing and in product development and in programming, and all of those things are just part of the investment that you make to build a successful product. So it's not. It doesn't come free, but if you don't do it, you can suffer the consequences. And if you do it right, it gives you lift in the market relative to the rest of the market. We see, you can see all sorts of really wonderful things happening in the marketplace when you can compete. Yeah. And more businesses are competing at the user interface level because they're selling, that's where the differentiation of the product is at the delivery of the user experience. And that's a good thing for all of us consumers because now businesses are able to compete with us on who is delivering the best experience, and that's where I'm going to spend my money.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Bob, thank you very much.
Thank you
for your answers, and my pleasure to have you here in Prague, and hopefully to see you one day again.
Well, thank you so much. We've very much enjoyed being here. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.